Have you ever had the feeling of being stuck as life passes you by? You probably felt this way when you had to stay home for a few months because of COVID-19. For me, this loneliness and loss of control have defined my life not only over the summer, but all throughout this fall semester. My name is Axelle. I live in a city called Cebu in the Philippines, 9,000 miles across the world from Durham. Cebu is a wonderful island region with the bluest waters and the clearest skies, of rugged mountains and vibrant city life. However, the compound where I live on the outskirts of the city is always unusually quiet. During the day, all 4 of my neighbors prefer to keep to themselves, and every night their lights are off by 7 p.m. I have always loved this silence, up until it was the only thing I could hear.
Community quarantine is hereby
When the Philippines closed its doors against COVID-19 on March 13, it imposed strict rules on its citizens, only giving quarantine passes to those between the ages of 21 and 60. Since I wasn't allowed out, I'd walk around in the afternoons and stop at the top of the hill, staring at the gate that separated me from the outside world. Here, I'd think about when I might be able to finally step through these barriers. This gate came to symbolize the line between safety and risk, the boundary between the past and the present. But being stuck at home wasn't necessarily a bad thing. This unhurried lifestyle allowed me and my parents to bond using the newfound time we had together. My dad experimented with different recipes, which we happily ate and critiqued, always giving positive feedback, of course. And my mom found a new best friend in a certain someone who also wasn't allowed out of the gate. The compound caretaker's 3-year-old son.
Ready? 1, go!
Before quarantine, Nathan was shy, preferring to peek at us from behind his mother. But he eventually warmed up, and now, he and my mom play basketball and badminton together in the afternoons, their laughter filling the air. Though Nathan is still learning words, he expresses his excitement through shrieks of, and when she finally does get the ball in the ring, they both yell for joy. It makes for a few minutes of exercise and entertainment, breaking the monotony of days that seemed to blend together with each passing week. However, when the sun sets and Nathan goes home, the laughter fades away and reality returns. The truth being that we are still in the middle of a pandemic that doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. We visit the church where we would normally attend Mass every Sunday. Even after many months, the house of God is still silent and dark, the opposite of everything it stands for. We go back to attending Mass online, as we have been since March. After the priest says the final blessing, we simply swipe him away from view to end the celebration. It's strange and anticlimactic, and makes the Mass less sacred than it should be. During the week, my mom transitions to online medical consultation for the first time in her 30 years of being a doctor. I help her set up a Facebook page where she can chat with patients, asking them to send pictures instead of examining them in person. It's a new experience for her, but she's thankful for the chance to still continue her practice. On the other side of our living room table, I start my first semester of college. What was supposed to be Duke University is now Zoom University, as I attend all my classes online. It's a challenge to make friends and stay on top of work when you're in a time zone that's 12 to 13 hours away. And as much as I try to stay positive, there are just some things that I can't control. Regular Wi-Fi outages and the fear of missing out add to the isolation that I already feel. After every class, radio silence envelops me once again, unlike on campus, where you're still surrounded with friends after hours. As the weeks go by, I long to be at Duke more and more. It's this remote situation that finally allows me to leave the gates, when I have to fly to the Philippine capital of Manila for my US visa interview. Cebu is returning to its usual bustle, the streets filling up once again with motorcycles and cars packed against one another. Because I'd only seen the same several faces for the past 7 months, I eagerly look around for new stories on the way to the airport. I smile at these kids playing on a fish farm. How did they spend the last few months? Did life change for them, if at all? I wonder if they too miss the feeling of physically going to school. In any other year, the Lamban Elementary School would be packed with children and their parents streaming through the gates. Instead, The buildings are cold and empty, and the rattle of a lone vendor's pushcart is the only noise heard in the usually rowdy place. And this man selling water and peanuts in the middle of traffic. Street vendors like him often wear shirts around their heads to guard against the heat of the sun, unknowingly preparing them for times like this. What other habits have we taken for granted? When I get to the airport, I'm struck at how empty everything is. Usually, it would take me a good 15 seconds to find my flight on the screen, but now it was virtually impossible to miss my boarding time. The lack of crowds is unnerving, especially to porters used to being on their feet all day long. One word is used to describe this lethargy: laay, the Cebuano term for being so bored you could die. Despite the silent airport, the plane is filled with people wearing masks and face shields. But not everything is the same. We sit one seat apart and listen to flight attendants dressed like medical frontliners. When I arrive in Manila at 10 a.m., my taxi driver greets me with, "Good morning. You're my first passenger today since 6 o'clock. God bless you." This is shocking given that Manila is one of the most densely populated cities in the world. As we drive, Manong Efren, the Filipino title for an elder man, tells me how COVID has greatly reduced the number of people hailing a cab. He talks about how hard it is to earn even half of what he used to. But he also shares some wisdom. When we talk about the recent hurricanes that have hit Manila, he says, "Lahat ay dumadaan lamang." In English, nothing is permanent. This too shall pass. His words are deeply reassuring when I think about everything that has happened this year. When I arrive at the hotel, I'm not allowed to leave my room until my visa interview. So I spend the rest of the day alone once again, only opening my door to retrieve my delivered food. The next morning, I'm up early for my most awaited event. The US Embassy is right across my hotel, a piece of America right in the heart of the Philippines. It's kind of like my college experience so far, a sliver of Duke through a 13-inch laptop screen. If all goes well, I'll be able to access the full version in a few months' time. And it does! 1 hour later, I'm officially able to come to the States as an F1 student. The flight home is giddy, relieved, jubilant, and hopeful. I catch a glimpse of a rainbow in the sky, and I remember Manong Efren's words, "Lahat ay dumadaan lamang." It's a reminder that storms don't last forever, but that happiness, too, shouldn't be taken for granted. When I land in Cebu, something brings me back to earth. The Coca-Cola truck in front of us has a tarp celebrating the healthcare workers who have tirelessly served the Philippines. "Thank you very much. You are the real heroes," it says. And it's true. While I have been making metaphors out of my situation, thousands of Filipino frontliners have been risking their lives for my safety. Everything may come to pass eventually, but the one thing I hope none of us forget is the sacrifice these people have made in order to ensure that we live to see another day.